Year-end show, buddy.
I know, it's crazy. December 31st, man. This was a fast fucking year.
It was crazy.
Like,
year.
holy shit.
Very fast.
Yeah.
Lots going on.
You think?
So we took a couple of weeks off, for the holidays and all kinds of stuff going. Plus, it's a year-end recap as well, too.
Yep.
So this audience, you might let them know, too. I am happy to announce, and I will try to make him embarrassed, but the Cozza Law Group is going to be the exclusive sponsor of the Eric McKenna Project, starting now.
Yeah, I love it, man. Appreciate the opportunity. It was definitely a no-brainer for us. I mean, we love it. I mean, it's a great show. I've obviously been a guest a million times. It's just having the opportunity is much appreciated. I'm excited for what we can do next year.
Well, yes, and I think what's great too is it's going to build on some ideas we had about demystifying law. We're going to be able to do some law-related law cast stuff in regards to the project and
show people that lawyers aren't all boring.
They're not all boring. They're not mean.
No, we're actually pretty nice.
They don't charge millions of dollars.
No,
and
some do.
Well, yeah, some do, but they're also
we're not pretentious.
But they're also approachable, and they're for regular folk like me. Because I was someone that grew up that believed that lawyers weren't for people like me.
Yeah, exactly. So I grew up the same way. Like I didn't know any lawyers growing up. Yeah. When I look back, I knew
I guess the big one. Oh my God, I knew too many of them.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Buddy, we're just going to get right into it.
So,
what's your opinion of where the Twitter stands as of today, December 31st? I mean, Musk is just insane.
I love him. I love him because he doesn't give a shit.
Obviously not.
And to either side, like he's just letting things happen. And I think it's great because it's exposing how childish people have been. Mm-hmm. And it's just like now it's like, he's letting people talk, and people are like, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. But it's, it was okay when, people are just talking to both sides of their mouth now, and he's exposing it all, and I love it. And Twitter should be the place for free speech, the town square. That's otherwise you can't silence people.
Wasn't it kind of set up that way at some point? And that became like their adopted slogan at some point?
Yeah, and
a decade ago.
What blows my mind is just all the stuff they've uncovered with those Twitter files, like just how they were, working with the government to,
You're not surprised, are you?
Honestly,
were you?
Partially, I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that the government made them suppress. I thought maybe Twitter made the choice to suppress stories because they were just had a liberal bent or whatever the case may be. I didn't want to believe the government had a hand in suppressing certain stories or suppressing certain information.
Mm-hmm.
That's what blew my mind, because that shows what is government. Government is for the people, by the people. This government is not, obviously. This government is for the power, by the power. Like,
the government recognized that these two private entities, primarily Facebook and Twitter, had this incredible communicative reach to the public, and they used them as their instrument, which is insidious.
Yeah, completely, because it interfered with an election. Whether the results would have been different or not, we don't know. Mm-hmm. All we know is that it actually interfered with the election.
Yeah.
And to me, that is a scary thing.
Yeah, and it's you and I've had plenty of talks about the size of these companies, and we generally agree. I do have probably a more healthy fear of the size and girth of Facebook and Twitter and the implications there than you. But I would actually feel that if Jack Dorsey and the ownership group of Twitter had a certain political bent, and there was not any government communication or interference in it, I could look back and say, well, that's probably not my philosophy, but it's a private entity. They're running it the way they want it to run. I'd almost be okay with it. I don't have to agree with it.
Sure.
But when I learned that the government was an instrument in there, that's where my mind just...
That's what blew my mind. Yeah. That was frustrating.
Did you happen to see Dorsey on Rogan a year and a half ago?
No.
Did you? Yeah, I watched that, and I didn't get any indication at that time that he spoke about the government being entrenched in there.
No, and I think his position now is that he didn't know. And maybe I don't know. Like, I don't know if he did or not. Because, I mean, I think they were so...
Is that even possible?
I mean, you think about it, though. A lot of times these CEOs of these large companies don't know what's going on the ground. I work as a lawyer. Like, I work with large organizations, right?
Okay.
The CEO of some of those large organizations has no idea what the mid-level executives that I'm working with are necessarily involved in. Because they don't need to know everything, right?
Right.
It's kind of on a need-to-know basis. So unless they're running it up the chain, like if we're handling like litigation for a client, if it's a small matter, CEO doesn't need to know about that.
No,
the large organization they need to know things that are impactful. Obviously, this was very impactful to an organization, but these people within Twitter, I think, were making their own decisions.
Yes.
And not necessarily running it up the chain or letting.
Well, what's Facebook's excuse?
Well, I mean, Zuckerberg knew. I mean, he went on. He was on Rogan, right, where he talked about the FBI coming in and basically telling them to suppress the stories. Like, he was the first one that exposed it.
Right.
I mean, they're all at fault.
Is there a solution to the problem that you see? A mechanism that can be put in place that would stop that kind of coercion?
How do you stop corruption?
I don't know.
I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I mean, unless you take the power away from the government, there's always going to be corruption. I wish I had an answer to say, yeah, this is a way that you could prevent this from happening. But I think people in power will always have some level of corruption and do what they can to corrupt the process if it benefits them. Mm-hmm. Even with laws, look at the shit that happens. Even with laws in place. There's so much stuff that goes on that I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but nothing else makes sense. Mm-hmm. When you look at certain things, like they just do what they want to keep themselves in power.
Yes. Yeah. Is there a mechanism, I guess, for lack of a better phrase? Is there an idea for an instrument that our government could create and use that would provide an avenue to communicate to the public better than they are now, even if it's a one-way communication? Because I can imagine on a two-way communication, it could become terribly caustic.
Okay.
But if it was more of a one-way communication that would not infringe on our democracy or our freedoms, but just a technology tool,
okay,
like a government Twitter,
okay,
but only one way, like a government bulletin board, a government something, just so the public could be better informed. Because I think now they pass laws and they do all of this legislation, or there's a Supreme Court ruling or something, or a presidential executive branch process.
Executive order, yep.
Yes, and we leave it up to the private sector to disseminate the information and spoon feed us. Where wouldn't it be interesting? That's okay. Opinion's great,
sure,
but we want that too. But could there be like a black and white, vanilla, just simple? This is what happened in layman's terms, where the average Joe and Judy could understand.
I don't think that'll ever happen, because then the government would have to explain their decisions. The government likes to make decisions without having to explain them. And if they did have to explain them, they would spin it. Like, look at the administration now. Gas prices are high. It's a Putin problem. It's not Biden's problem. Gas prices come down. It's Biden's problem. They spin the information the way they want. So I think if the government, that's what they do now, right? They disseminate the information. They just put their own spin. There would never be a way for the government to purely put facts out. You just gotta read the information and make your own determination.
But most
people won't do that. And the government, both parties, who's ever in power, is gonna. Yeah, they're gonna put the information out that spins it in their favor.
Because what you're saying is the idea I just presented basically bakes in more transparency, and that's not what they want.
No, not at all. Think about that. Why they don't want transparency at all? That's why that's why we have these problems. In my mind, like, our government has gotten too big and too corrupt. I think government is needed. I think the federal government is an absolute necessity in a country like ours to regulate interstate commerce and for the national defense. The reason why it was set up, they have stuck their nose in everything and anything.
Agreed.
No matter who's in power, right or left, it's gotten too big, and we need to figure out a way. I don't know that we'll see it in our lifetime to call that down a little bit.
I know, and I just worry because the accelerated pace of technology, coupled with the communication within these technological companies, the government doesn't have a grasp on it, and there's elements within the government, I think, that are extremely fearful of that, and that fear leads to corruption because they can't control it.
Yeah.
And in attempts to control it, bad things happen.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think we're going to see. I think with this whole artificial intelligence, I think we're going to see a shift in the way information is disseminated and understood.
Okay, what do you mean?
I just think people are going to start so that whole new Chat GPT, right?
Yeah.
This system. So this is how powerful this thing is. Now, again, you don't know if it's necessarily right or not, but I think as it learns more, I asked it, I said, give me a list of the five most influential books for law firm owners. Okay. Gave me this list. I said, okay, take number 3 on the list and summarize it for me. And it summarized the book for me. And I read the book. That's why I wanted to see if it worked. I read the book already. So I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what the book's about. And I said, now take that summary and give me 5 actionable steps I can take to implement tomorrow. And it did all of this within 2 minutes. So people will be able to take a White House briefing and say, summarize this for me.
Okay.
And people will be able to understand it better.
That's great.
I think that's what we're going to see. So the government may not be able to have that, put their spin on it going forward, because people will just take the information and get artificial intelligence to do the work for them.
That's very positive.
That's what I think we'll start to see.
On the negative side of artificial intelligence, do you believe that our understanding of what is reality is going to change?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we are on the precipice of a complete shift in the way the world works. The power of these systems are insane. It's almost scary when you look at these things that you can do. From designing code to anything you possibly need answered, you can get done through artificial intelligence in a matter of seconds. So reality is going to shift. I mean, it's going to change jobs. It's going to change industries. People have to either adapt and adopt it, or they're going to die in the industries. And I think it's going to throw people for a loop because their sense of reality is going to shift.
Okay.
I really believe that. To the point where Google has created a tool now where it will tell you, I can't remember I don't know if it's called Google AI or Google GPT, but basically you can take content, put it through this system, and it will tell you if it was created by a human or artificial intelligence.
So the artificial intelligence will disseminate whether or not this content was human
or artificial intelligence generated.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I mean, it's getting crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it's this world just in the past 2 months. So, I mean, Chat GPT, I think, started November 30th. It had 1 million users within 5 days.
Is this free?
It's free. It's free.
And who created
It's an open source. I think Elon Musk is actually involved in it from what I've read. I'm not 100% certain, but it's called Chat GPT. It's literally you go and you log in through Google or whatever, and you can ask it anything.
So do you think this is going to change basic learning?
It's going to change basically everything.
In terms of making the human experience a little more lazy?
Yeah. Yes, I do think that, but I also think it could completely improve things too if people utilize it correctly.
Okay.
Because it can make, think about
solve problems.
It can solve problems. Yeah, absolutely. It can solve problems. I just look at myself, right? For content creation, using that system just to give me ideas has already eliminated probably 10 hours I would have to put in.
It's impressive.
I just said, hey, give me a list of 10 video ideas for a business lawyer to to create, to attract the ideal client of like this avatar. And boom, list of 10 video ideas. And I could say, hey, give me 5 bullet points for each video idea. Boom, it'll create them. And then it just, that's how crazy this shit is. The world is going to change.
I have not dived down deep enough. Yeah,
you definitely need to go down the rabbit hole. It's crazy.
Talk about Musk a little bit here, because I know people tend to, I don't know, they tend to pick a side with Musk, which is just crazy that we're forced to do that with anything, or we feel compelled to do that with anything. But either dig Musk or you don't, and the people that are indifferent are probably very few.
Yeah,
everybody seems to have an opinion of the guy.
I love him. I just because he's that guy that I look at that just doesn't give a shit.
Nope.
He doesn't care about one side or the other.
Agreed.
He just wants to do what's right for the country, and that's kind of how I look. Like
the world, actually,
for the world, exactly. And I just think I look at him as he's just like a normal dude that's just made billions of dollars and is just smarter than everybody else.
And for that alone, at times, the envy generates a lot of hatred.
Oh, people fucking hate him for that. People hate him because what he's exposed. The fact he bought Twitter and allowed these people back on and has now allowed people to challenge what the establishment wants to be put out there, people are losing their shit.
Right.
Like losing their shit. Like, how could you challenge me?
Right. 100%.
You know? And it's like, but it was okay when they challenged everybody else and said, no, that's misinformation. But when you get called it's like, no, you can't do that. It should be free speech. You can't label it misinformation. This is supposed to be about free speech. It's like, well, no. Before Musk owned it, it was like you wanted to suppress information that didn't agree with what you thought should be out there.
100%.
It's just, and that's why people hate him, because he's exposing it all.
Absolutely 100%. Yeah, and it's even fascinating to watch because.
And he's funny as fuck.
Musk, yes, he has a sense of humor, and Musk is the ultimate chess player of life.
Yeah, he is.
Always playing chess.
Yeah, he is.
And in a world of simpletons, you know, he just has this coy look about himself, and he already has the next step.
He's
or
5
2
moves
or 5.
ahead.
Yes,
he's
exactly.
5 moves ahead.
And I just find the whole thing too. And I also think that his philosophy on money is completely misunderstood. I think Elon Musk has so much confidence in himself that if you took every last dime, if you stole every last dime from him as a human being and left him penniless, I think he would have a Cheshire grin, and he'd figure it out. And 4 years from now, he'd be a millionaire again, or a billionaire again.
Yeah. Well, and
I believe that.
I believe that about just successful people in general, right? I think once you reach a certain level of success in life, be it wealth or just certain business success, you worry less about money because you know you've built the skills to earn it. And that's what we've done. Like he has the intelligence and the skill set to get the money back. So like that's how I feel sometimes. Not to that level, but it's like, okay, if I lost everything tomorrow, I know what I did to get it. I just have to re-implement that plan and re-execute. That's it. It's
correct.
Just, it's not. So you stop living in fear when you get to a certain level of building a certain level of skills in life and in business.
Confidence gives that. Confidence breeds that.
It does, but it's also just going through it, like pushing through and developing the skills, like playing in the game. Like most people don't engage in the game fully. They want to be a spectator in life. But if you actually engage in life and engage in the game of business and understand how it works and get to a certain level of success and you lose it all. Like you hear all these stories, right? These people that lose, become, make a bunch of money, they go bankrupt, they make a bad decision, and then 3 years later they're a millionaire again because they understood how to do it. They figured it out. Yeah, they made some bad decisions, lost it. Okay, let's redo it and not do that. And that's what Musk would do. Same thing.
Yeah, and in most instances too, you're right. It's learned. You build off your learning.
Yeah.
But it's also being willing to do, and you understand this. I'm willing to do what most people
you're right.
don't really want to be bothered with.
Yeah. Yep.
And that little differential it makes all the freaking difference.
That I always say that 2% differential makes 100% of the difference. Most people aren't willing to give that extra 2%, but that extra 2% is where all the success comes. Once you understand, if you give that little bit extra, your results will double, if not triple.
Does it baffle you at times when you see in the media people just taking all these shots at him, and people, when you kind of dive into, or you take a little peek at their life story, people that really haven't created much, accomplished much in terms of societal impact.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the most vicious attacks are coming from those who can't match his drive or skill set.
Yeah.
Which then leads me to believe it's purely done out of envy.
That's it. I mean, the best quote I ever heard, and I follow this piece of advice throughout my life. Don't worry about the criticism from people you wouldn't ask advice from.
Yeah.
And to me, that's it. Like
that solves the problem.
That solves the problem, right? Because these people, like, he's 50,000 steps ahead of them. He's never going to ask them for advice on anything. So why does their criticism matter? It doesn't. It's envy. It's pure envy.
We're slight left turn here. Do you think that this government does enough encouragement, or does enough to encourage the brain trust of this country to contribute and to have think tanks? And I'm talking about not just the academia folks. I'm talking about the real people in industry who have actually done things, created things. Do we tap into this for the greater good, for the benefit of the country? Do we do this on a regular basis?
I don't think the government does that. I think, and I hate to say this, but I think where we are as a society, the government's primary focus is to keep us divided. Because if you keep us divided, then we can't understand who's really controlling things. If you keep the people fighting with one another, then we're not paying attention to what's really going on. That's, in my mind, like, if you look at things objectively, and this is not from a right or left perspective, this is purely objection, or purely an objective perspective. Like, if I zoom out and say, okay, all the shit we fight about in this country is really created by the government or the media telling us we should be fighting about this shit, telling us that we should be mad about these things. Like, when most of us really don't give a fuck. But it's if they create this chaos in this division in the country, we're not paying attention to what's happening.
Right.
What's really happening. If you look at all this shit that's going on in the country and in the government.
But why don't we care? Apathy? Why are we apathetic?
Because it's easier to fight with each other than to think about what's really going on. It's easy to fight with your neighbor about something we disagree about, right? It's a lot more difficult to take a step back and say, what is really fucking going on? Because then it takes a different level of understanding. It's easy for the media.
Scary for some?
Super scary. Well, that absolutely. But I think it's easy for someone to listen to the media to say, oh, these people are terrible because they say this. Well, yeah, okay. You're one of those people. Fuck you. And we just argue, right? Someone told me you fit into that category. I'm now going to be divisive against you. It's easy because I was told what it was. You fit the category. I can just fight. If I have to look at the government and what's going on, that takes my own level of thinking. My own level. No one's telling me anything. I've got to dissect that information myself.
Okay.
Most people don't want to do that. Most people want to go through life and just kind of go through life and meander through life. That's how I look at it. I mean, I don't mean that to be to sound
it's just an
snark.
observation.
It's just my observation.
I concur.
People just tend to just want
take
to
the
live
path
an easy
of
life.
least
resistance. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
And I think
that's human nature.
Right, but I think the whole purpose of government, that's how they stay in power.
Because no one's really paying attention.
Right. They create these problems that they have to solve. And it's like, well, we're the party that's going to solve it. Or I'm the person that's going to solve it. Well, is it really a fucking problem? No, you just created the problem and made us think this is a problem.
Yeah.
Like that, like I always say, the one thing that, they create these, these arguments between classes of people, right? When really we all kind of like each other, want to get along. Yeah, there are fundamental systemic things that are wrong in the country, but I think most human beings are good by nature. But when the government and the media tell us there's these bad things happening, then we just tend to fight with each other because we're believing what we're being fed. And when you look at it truly from just a human nature perspective, I don't think that's the case. But we're not looking at it from that perspective.
No, we're not. And it
that was a left turn. Sorry.
No, it's actually the perfect turn because it does speak to why this government apparently was so hell-bent on using a private company, a very large communications private company, to spit out a particular narrative. And that is horrifying, even to me. And even if others don't see it that way, well, maybe they're just not paying attention too deeply, because it should bother anybody.
Or they don't want to pay attention because now it goes against their sensibilities. Like, I know many people that were like, there was fucking no collaboration with the government. Like, those were just bullshit stories about Hunter Biden. Like, Biden's the right president. Now those people, they're pretty fucking quiet because now they don't want to believe this shit because it goes against everything they believed.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing for someone, right? Like, if you just as a human being,
really
right?
Shouldn't be, but it is.
But
it
think about
is
though,
in this society. It
if
is.
you just in general, like if you believe something like wholeheartedly, and you've dug your heels in, and you're gonna die on that hill, and then all of a sudden, information comes out that flies in the opposite direction of that.
Yeah.
It kind of fucks with your sensibilities. You're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because to me, I get it, but I don't. And the reason being is we've chosen so many bad things that dig our heels in, things that are really inconsequential to our life.
Sure.
If you grew up your whole life believing one certain religion, and then you saw something or felt something that gave you a seismic shift, I can sit back and go, that is a seismic shift, and that could be earth-shattering. But if you're going to tell me that you've voted a certain way your whole life, and now you've seen something which really inside made you question, it really shouldn't be a seismic thing that conflates to the point where it affects all areas of your life. But that's what's happening because folks are so married to their political philosophy that when they see things that cause them to question, it's two sides, but they don't want to deal with it.
Right, because they don't want to be wrong. They don't.
And that's the part about it that really shows the sadness of the world culture right now. The world culture of humanity right now is the fact that we can't find decent amount. We can't put logic and reason above personal feeling, so we can maneuver better in life and have a better life for others, and you know, coexist with others better. We put that concept of being correct at the forefront,
because feelings matter more than anything right now. And it's like, we've got to make sure everybody feels good. And people feel good when they're right and feel bad when they're wrong.
Such a flawed concept.
It's completely fucking flawed. Like, to me, that is the most flawed thing right now, because you can't run your life off of emotions and feelings. Like, you have to use logic and reason. And I've been wrong many times, and I'm okay with that. Like, that's part of learning and developing, right? I don't let it fuck with my feelings. Like, oh my God, I feel like an idiot. It's like, no, I was wrong. Okay. I made a mistake. I didn't know. Well, I didn't have all the information.
Would you not agree that over the last decade, there has been legislation, both in the local, state, and certainly in the federal governments, brought about and passed, that deals with people's feelings and trying to appease their emotional feelings above
logic?
Not only logic, but also above the best interest of the bulk of society.
Yes, 100%. And we should not. That is not a way to run a country or any type of community. Yes, people's feelings matter, right? You don't want to hurt people's feelings intentionally, but decisions.
But you can't legislate that.
You can't legislate. You can't make decisions based on feelings. Like that's that is the absolute worst way to decide how to do something based upon your feelings. No, logic and reason is how you make decisions, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just goes back to a system that we're just trying to appease groups of people for the leverage that appeasement may provide us.
Correct. That is the
point. And then taking a couple of steps back and looking, it just really does not make a lot of sense.
In the zero sense. Like zero sense to me.
Yeah. Speaking of people getting their feelings hurt and doing things on a whim, let's talk about Vladimir Putin for a second here. Okay. So we've watched this war. I have to say, I was building this studio, spending long nights in here last spring, or this past spring, and listening and I shouldn't have, but I listened for hours of Fox News and CNN, and I just listened to these reports because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We're in the year 2022, there's a ground war going on, which just was nuts to me. But I didn't think it would last this long.
Yeah.
And here we are, and we only know what we're being told.
Yeah.
But it seems like the man's desperate, and it doesn't look like he's in great health. And what are your ideas in regards to what's the end game that you could see if you had to put a guess to it?
I don't know what the end game is. I don't think this is going to last another 6 months. I think it'll be over before summer. There'll be some sort of treaty or peace negotiation, or something will come of this. I don't know. The part I have a hard time with, and I haven't had the time nor the energy nor the desire to look into it, but there's something going on in the background. This war, there's a underlying meaning for it. It's not just over territory. There's something else going on. That's what my gut's telling me. But again, that's purely my instinct. It's not based on any facts or objectionable information. That's just what I feel. I tend to think it'll end sooner rather than later.
What's going to be really tragic, as if it's not already tragic, is if after Putin's demise, they study the man, or they study his brain or whatever, and they find out that there was a case of like some kind of brain disease or some kind of, that one man's cognitive insanity caused the deaths of all these, destruction of all of this.
Yeah. But the other piece to
if it turns out to be that.
Right, but the other piece of it too, and again, I don't know enough, but we're always assuming that Ukraine had nothing to do with this. That it was, and I don't know. Like, I don't know. There's just something that doesn't add up. Like this, the president of Ukraine, like a billionaire. He was an actor and then became the president. Now he's a billionaire and has homes all over the world. Like, doesn't that
sounds like our president?
But doesn't that make people question things a little bit? Like, when you think about that, right?
Why?
Like,
Why should we question it? We don't question. We don't question our elected politicians in our free market society getting into office, federal office, and staying there for a period of time, and then exiting, being multimillionaires. Oh, you can say, well, they give speeches and they write books. Yeah, that's true, but wow, what a system that permits that, and how else are they getting paid? We don't question that.
Right. Correct.
We don't question that.
And I will say this: I am fine if someone comes out of politics and makes a shit ton of money because you gave time in the service of the public. I'm fine with that. The problem I have is the people that have been politicians their whole life and are gazillionaires. That's the problem I have. Like, if you go into politics and then all of a sudden come out and you write a book, make speeches, and you're kind of getting, we'll say, paid back.
Yeah.
Okay, that's politics, right? The problem I have is that you have the people like the Bernie Sanders, the Mitch McConnells, the Bidens that have been in politics. That's all they've ever been in. You make $180,000 a year, right? How are you worth $100 million? Right? I mean, that's the problem I have. Nancy Pelosi, like, making all these stock trades before legislation is passed, like always timing it right,
That's the biggest. They're all doing that.
Correct. I mean, and that's
to
the
different
thing.
degrees.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's the problem.
But wasn't Hillary Clinton, when she was the first lady, was making pig future trades in Chicago in the big board, and there was a big problem there, and
they're all doing it.
Yeah, you get lucky. We all get lucky once in a while, but ultimately, come on.
You're not getting lucky on pig futures. You're not even thinking about pig futures unless you know something's happening.
She apparently was.
But that's the problem, and I have no problem with politicians making money when they come out. But it's while they're making that money while they're in public service. Like, that's the problem that we should be questioning.
I don't think it'll ever be addressed. Just like they're never going to make term limits, because that's going to be an attack on their own institution.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
And it's like, whether it's a pay raises they put through, and I think that's coming, right? That's supposed to be happening. And in a couple of days, there's more pay raises for, I don't know. That's a rabbit hole. So, like, if you talk more about Musk, just to cap this off, he's pretty coy, but his main statement, Rocco, has been that the Fed's raising of interest rates has kind of created this current mess for everybody.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that.
I mean, look what has been going on. Like, the raising interest rates is supposed to impact the economy by increasing supply and lowering demand, so prices come down.
Yeah, to reduce inflation.
Correct, but it hasn't worked.
No.
I mean, inflation is key. I mean, we're going into a recession. I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, look at all the data I've looked at and the people I've spoken to that are way smarter than me about this shit have all said 23, 24 recession. And I don't think the Feds are going to lower rates anytime soon. They may stop raising them, but I don't think until a new administration comes into play, those rates aren't lowering at all. They may increase them again.
I mean,
it's insane. Like I have one of the businesses I own. I have a credit line. There's nothing on it. When I opened the credit line in 2019, the interest rate was 4%. I just got notice in the mail yesterday. The rate is now 10.5% on a credit line.
It's crazy.
Like that's, I mean, 2.5 times it's increased.
No, it doesn't make
3
any
years.
sense at all.
Right.
Your thoughts on crypto as we end out the year? I mean, obviously, some of crypto's taking a hit. Is all of crypto down?
No, I mean, it's all down. Yeah, the market in general is down, but I think there's still good projects out there. I'm still betting on a few big ones. I've lost a ton of money in crypto, but I mean, I put the money in crypto knowing that if I lose it, like it was a gamble I was taking. Yeah. I put money into that Voyager platform. They went bankrupt, so my money's stuck there. I don't know if I'll ever get it back. They're in bankruptcy now, so I have no idea if I'll ever get that money back.
So the platform
itself is in bankruptcy. Yes. So they restricted trading. We don't know if we'll get our money back or not.
Have you had a chance to wrap your head around this whole FTX debacle?
Oh my God, it's fucking.
Have you watched Kevin Leary?
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. Like I used to like him a lot, and I respect
What's his standpoint? Is he defending?
He's up in arms because he was like a huge supporter of FTX. He was a $15 million a year paid spokesman for FTX. Now he looks like a fucking fool.
Oh, really? Okay.
He was a paid spokesperson.
Okay.
Now he looks like a fool, and he's saying that we should be investigating all this shit. We should be regulating this stuff. It's like no shit. But he was touting FTX like they are, and he's trying to blame Binance on their demise.
Right. There was a competitor.
Yeah. Okay. Fucking the guy had played a smart fucking game. And Sam Bankman-Fried got fucking duped. Nothing illegal. This dude was just smarter than him. Sam Bankman-Fried was also fucking using customer funds.
That's illegal.
That's fucking illegal. Like, and all of a sudden, what's funny now, and I was watching a couple of videos about this, he made his $250 million bail. Like, he got arrested.
I saw that.
Yeah. And
Was
it's
that
funny.
straight bail?
Yeah. And it's funny because they said when that happened, people monitor crypto because you can monitor the ledgers of crypto. It's all public, right? That's the whole point of crypto. It's on the blockchain, so you can.
Right.
And they said there were a lot of large transactions and a lot of large wallets at the time he was being released. So they think he's hid all this money in these crypto ledgers and crypto wallets that he had access to that was really customer funds to make his bail.
Can that get unpacked?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he kills himself. I think I did see something. I don't know if it's true or not. They said they're putting him into the same prison where Epstein was. I'm like, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. I just saw a video about this.
What's this? So I turn on the news and there's this picture of this really average looking. I thought it was a young girl.
Yeah, she pled guilty.
Yeah, I thought it was like a 14, 13-year-old girl, but apparently she's not. She's an adult. But it did not look to me like that was, and it was. They were saying she may be the one that takes it all down, and I'm like, her again. First impression.
She was the CEO of Alameda Research.
She may be a brilliant person.
I just watching her interviews.
The first look of her, I was just like.
In one of her interviews, she's like, "Yeah, we don't really use math." Like she was talking about the fucking Alameda Research, like a hedge fund. Like she's like, "Yeah, we don't really use math. We don't really use."
Oh, it's all on feeling.
I don't know what the fuck they use. I'm like, you're trading. I mean, it was the most ridiculous. I don't know if it was a joke, but she was literally on a podcast being interviewed, and they were asking her about like their trading. She's like, "Yeah, we don't really use. We use kind of elementary school math. Like we don't really think about those things." It was all a fucking scheme, in my opinion. It was all a fucking scheme. Maybe I'm wrong, and hopefully I am, and people get their money back. But it was a bunch of kids running these organizations.
So
they were donating a lot of fucking money to politicians.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's why I wouldn't be surprised if this dude gets offed.
Well, I was going to one particular party.
Well, true. Yes.
Yeah, the president's party. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, hence why Epstein killed himself.
Yeah, I am surprised that Epstein's girlfriend is still breathing, as far as we know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because that was a story for this year.
Yeah.
You know, it's too easy to say, well, you know, they haven't released the names in that book, and here's a lady that knows the dirt on all these people. Yeah. You know, that's the very elementary way of looking at it, Rocco. But isn't that the truth? Like,
it is the truth.
Why are we not hearing of any of this bullshit?
Because no one wants it to be told. I mean, think about how many people are allegedly involved in that. On both sides. This is not just a left or right thing. It's in everything.
That's why we haven't heard of it.
That's why we haven't.
If it was one,
right, exactly. If it was one party, we would have fucking heard that list. It's because it's all parties.
The FBI could demand to know the guest registry of that island,
sure,
right? All that stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, not even if you take Giselle or Ghislaine, you take her out of the picture for a second. Mm-hmm. Just look at the factual data that can be obtained by who went there, right? Because there's travel logs and things, right?
The most powerful people in the world.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why we're not going to hear about any of it. I mean, think about, do you really believe governments run the world, or is it there's people behind the governments?
Oh, well, of course.
You know, these powerful people are the ones running the world. They don't want to be exposed, and they're going to do everything in their power to make sure they're not exposed. Hence why the dude was in a cell that had things in his cell that you're not supposed to have in a cell when someone's on suicide watch, and he fucking had these things in his cell, and then all of a sudden cameras go out one night and he kills himself. I mean, it doesn't take a brain fucking surgeon to figure out there's some foul play there, in my opinion.
Well, they had a psychologist on a talk show, and he goes, I have not examined the man, so I can't speak firsthand. But just looking at personality type, the things he was accused of doing, the things he did accomplish in life, he did not have the personality from a 100-mile view in of the person that would kill themselves.
Narcissists don't. That's exactly it. Narcissists do not have the propensity to kill
Bingo.
themselves.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out, man.
So, what a story.
I know, man.
What a freaking
2022,
story.
man.
Sticking with stocks, so as we sit here today on the 31st, here's some numbers for you. Yeah. Facebook's down 64%. Mm-hmm. Amazon down roughly 50%. Google down 39-ish. And even Apple's down 29%. Yeah. If I had told you that is how the year was going to end, if I told you that in January of 2022, would you believe me?
I wouldn't have wanted to believe you. But knowing the administration we have and where the economy was going, it's not far-fetched. But I just look at its buying opportunities, though. When you get good companies that are long-term money makers, and when they go down, like 2008 was a great buying opportunity. I remember buying stocks of good companies, made a bunch of money then, because if you know the good companies and you buy them when they're down, just hold them. Yeah,
I mean, a bad economy is not bad for everyone.
Correct.
And a good economy is not good for everyone.
Exactly right. Yep.
Perspective. So McCarthy, the minority leader of the House for the Republican side, is trying to get enough votes to become the House majority leader in January here. And I guess it's really a little bit of drama going on.
Yeah, it should be. They should be. They should be. It should not be just because you're,
That always kind of has been.
I know, but let's have debate. It's good to have a healthy debate within a party to see who's the best speaker to represent the party. Plain and simple. I think that should happen. I don't know who the other options are. I think one of them I heard was maybe Jim Johnson from Ohio. Mm-hmm. I don't know who else was, but I like Jim Johnson. I think he'd be a great speaker. Mm-hmm. McCarthy, I'm not a huge fan of, to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of him.
He's a career politician.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
Or is that who you need in that? Because the system is so. The system is just what it is. Did the Democrats need someone like Nancy Pelosi who understood how to use the whip, use the force when necessary, and maneuver? I mean, again, it's like, do you need the devil to play if you're going to maneuver in hell? I mean, do you need the devil to maneuver you there?
I mean, people think you do, but why not try something different? You never know. You never know if you don't until you try. And that's maybe what needs to happen here. Like, maybe shit will actually get done if you get somebody that's not a career politician that actually wants to do what's best for the fucking country.
I think we kind of tried that with the last president, in theory.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, at least that's what we thought initially.
Yeah,
all personal flaws aside, and there's plenty of those.
100%.
Yeah. An outsider. So you're saying basically an outsider could solve some problems, but
I think so. I mean, I've always thought about it. Yeah, but I think we have to try at some point. We can't just keep doing what we've done because
what we've done isn't working very well.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's why you have career politicians, because we're not fixing problems, so they keep staying in power to say we've got to fix the problems that we haven't fixed for the fucking 20 years I've been in power.
And kicking the can down the
road.
Right.
That's exactly right.
To that, let's talk a little bit about term limits here.
Yeah.
I think we both have stated multiple times we are for term limits. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the reason it doesn't happen is because it's self-regulation of their own little, band of circus members. Yep. But do you ever see a point in time where there'll be enough courage and foresight for term limits to be enacted?
I hope so. And there's a simple solution, in my opinion. You institute term limits, and every current member of Congress is grandfathered in until they lose. So if you keep winning re-election, you're not subject to term limits. Like, that solves the problem, in my opinion.
It's a shame you even have to do that, but
right. But I'm saying if that's what they're worried about, like, give them, then you've got to win re-election.
I get it.
The moment you lose, you're out. If you've served that term limit, you're out. Okay, done. We need to do that because that you can't look. I'm not saying anything about age. It's like if you have someone that's been in politics for 20, 30 years, get the fuck out. You need fresh ideas. You need new perspective. That plain and simple. You have to. You can't keep, that's why we keep having the same problems in this country. Nothing's getting solved because you have the same people in power that keep trying the same things just under a different framework or under a different name. But it's really the same bullshit over and over again because no one's bringing in fresh ideas. And the people that do just get shunned in silence because they're not, they're not the career politicians. You're new. Just do what the machine tells you to do. And that's what happens.
We have a rule in our Constitution. Mm-hmm. It's not an amendment, but part of the Declaration of what qualifies you to be president. Yeah. You have to be a naturalized born citizen. Mm-hmm. You also need to be over the age of 35.
Yeah.
Why can't we put a cap on that? Why can't we cap it at
I agree.
70?
We
or
should.
67.
We should.
I mean, if that's mean-spirited, well,
mm-hmm.
isn't it mean-spirited if a brilliant young politician comes up at the age of 30 that he has to wait 5 years to run for president?
Agreed. Yeah, I think
that's
should.
That's just the same bullshit.
Mm-hmm. I agree. 100%.
As a matter of fact, you can make the argument it's probably smarter to put a cap on the age because of deterioration as opposed to the young brilliance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are many brilliant 30-year-olds, even 25-year-olds. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they could be president, but you don't know. I mean, but yeah, I think you should put a cap on it. And maybe the cap is 75 or whatever the number is, but I think at a certain point in time, we have to just understand that all human beings lose some cognition over
100%.
Time. And you just got to accept that. And do you want those people running the
feelings?
That's the problem, right? Feelings.
Isn't that what it's about?
Yeah. Well, fuck your feelings.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
it's the truth. I mean, you're right. Everything's about feelings these days.
Great phrase. I didn't write it, but man, it's so great. And I'm going to butcher it here, but it's like the whims of a few should not impose an unfair burden on the many.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But that's what we're doing.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, and it isn't just the last 10 years. It was slowly happening over a multitude of decades. But it's really accelerated now where it really is something.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go down this road here, but the rest of this is pretty mundane here because a lot happened this year.
Yeah.
Barbara Walters passed away last couple of days. I watched a good amount of her interview. I thought she became a really good interviewer over the years. I didn't think her early stuff that I remember from childhood was that great. And I guess the Pope, the only retired Pope, Benedict, he passed away at 95 too. Yep. But if you don't care, neither do I. So I want to ask you a little bit about this, dive in here about the feelings thing because it just keeps accelerating. In this past year, it is just really nutso. And I'm not blaming the pandemic or blaming any particular world event, but it just seems like this trend of us embracing everything and then turning things that could be negative and putting a positive spin and making it suddenly positive. And the biggest one I can think of, Rocco, is the whole body shaming movement or the lack thereof, or however you want to go, or I shouldn't say body shaming movement, the body positivity movement. Yeah. Excuse me. I don't think you and I have really ever bounced this around, but there's a viewpoint out there that being of a certain size for men or women should not be shunned or hidden, and it should be flaunted. And it's a touchy subject because people get offended very easily when you say, well, is it really healthy for a 5'6" woman to weigh 210 pounds when all the health concerns have been proven from medical documentation that that's not a healthy way to live? Yet we don't want to hurt feelings. So I don't know how to quantify all this bullshit. I just don't. It isn't about the visual, what's attractive of them. It isn't.
No.
I don't care about that. No. But what about the idea of saying, it isn't just women. It goes for men too.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Primarily women. Okay. Women seem to be the ones, I think, from what I can see, that it's most sensitive about. What's your thoughts on glamorizing? And I'll use the word, the statistical word used of obesity. What's the idea of that?
Well, so let's start with, I don't think we should be glamorizing it. I don't think we should shame people either, right? I think there should be no.
Well, there should be shame for anything.
No. There are some people have health conditions or certain things. I don't think we should be glamorizing it in a way that tells people, in my opinion, some people, it's okay to not be personally responsible. That's how I look at it. It's like, if you've taken personal responsibility, you're trying to stay healthy and move and do the things to live a healthy lifestyle, and you're just a larger person. Absolutely, I get that. Like, I'm a bigger guy. Like, I'm never going to be a 160-pound guy. Like, I'm 225 pounds. I'm technically obese. If you look at but truly, if I go to the doctor,
statistically,
I'm 5'9", I'm 225 pounds. If they look at the BMI thing, I am severely obese. I should be 160 pounds for my height, right? So you can't look at it from that perspective. But I'm very healthy. Like, I eat healthy. I take care of myself. I work out. Like, I do. Like, so I believe that the problem I have with this whole movement is, I look at it as we're telling people it's okay to just be and not be responsible for your own health. Okay. Like, we should be telling people, like, whatever you look like doesn't matter. Like, look, it's not about the look. It's about being responsible for
your... Society kind of is, though.
But that's what they're making it, right? They're making it about that. To me, it should be about, like, you can look however you want. Like, everybody's beautiful in their own way. I'm not saying that at all. Like, it's nothing about the look. We cannot tell people it's okay to just be unhealthy. Like,
that's the point.
That's
actually the only point.
Right? Like, it's just like, because I know many people, like, in my sphere that, they eat healthy, they do what's right, they live a good lifestyle. They're just metabolically, their metabolism is slower because they're older, or they have different genetics. So everybody's built differently, right? And everybody's beautiful in their own way. We cannot, as a society, in my opinion, keep telling people that it's okay to just be a certain...
Or the food doesn't matter.
Or the food and the lifestyle doesn't matter.
Right.
It all matters because it becomes a drag on society. These people, if they don't take care of themselves, right? Like, take smoking, for instance, right? People that choose to smoke, that's a choice they've made, right? We don't promote that at all, but we don't prevent it either. But that becomes a strain on the healthcare system. As these people get lung cancer and, COPD, that becomes a strain on the healthcare system.
Correct.
Healthcare costs go up because of these people making choices. Same thing happens, in my opinion, with people that choose to live an unhealthy lifestyle. Eventually it catches up. Diabetes, or certain things that come along with living an unhealthy lifestyle. And it's not about the body. Like, there are many, like I said, everybody is beautiful in their own way. It's not about the looks. It's about the lifestyle and the healthy choices a person needs to make. We should be promoting that. I'm totally fine with the body positivity movement if we're saying, in conjunction with that, be healthy. Like, live a healthy lifestyle.
I
Get
don't
out
think
and
that's
move.
any
Drink
part of it,
water.
though.
It's not. That's the problem. Like, drink water. Exercise. Do certain things to just make sure you're. Because what that leads to also, and where I think it would help eliminate some problems, it leads to happier people.
Certainly.
Happier people are less argumentative. Happier people are less likely to get in pissing matches with other people about the bullshit the media wants us to do. But because a lot of people in this country are unhealthy, right? They're eating processed foods. They don't feel good. They don't feel mentally focused. Things trigger them quicker, right?
Right.
They're not as happy as they could be. So they're always in this negative frame of mind, which allows them to be triggered a lot quicker.
Certainly.
If you're happy, like I feel good 99% of the time. I fucked up my arm obviously this week.
Yeah.
But like I
You
feel
did.
I did. Saving my daughter.
You did.
But like I feel good 99% of the time. So like little things don't bother me because I have a positive disposition. I'm a happy person.
Yeah.
Now I know like when I was out of shape, like during the pandemic when I felt like I got fat as fuck and was just like I just wasn't myself. Like I was moody. I was like mentally different.
Yeah, diet's a huge component to your state.
Exactly, and just moving and staying hydrated and sleeping well and putting the right things in your body, it completely changes your mental framework.
Absolutely.
And that's what we should be talking about. It's not about a person's body. It's not about the way a person looks. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about the well-being of the person. Because I don't care how big a person is. I don't care what they look like. If they are living a good life and have their well-being is good, awesome. Like doesn't matter.
But they do. But I'll say it. It does go hand in hand. Generally speaking, if someone is doing the right things with diet and exercise, generally they're not going to carry a lot of excess weight. They may be bigger boned, they may be built differently, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But the extra weight that's there because of a sedentary lifestyle, bad, shitty food, things like that, that's the thing we cannot, as a society, in my opinion, or we should not, we can because we're doing it, we should not want to proliferate as okay. And it's not okay to kill yourself, man.
But let's take about it one step further. Look at the people that promote the body positivity movement. Who owns those companies?
Probably food companies.
The pharmaceutical company. Think about it. If you look at it, the pharmaceutical companies. Because why? If you keep people bigger, they need medicine.
Yeah.
They need diabetic medicine. Yeah. They need all these. So it's like, and that's the sad part. Like if you look at other countries, like we're the most obese country in the world.
Oh yeah, I saw numbers that are horrible.
We also have the biggest healthcare system.
Yes, we do.
So when you think about these companies like the Dove soap and all these that are owned by these Johnson and Johnson that are their main business is pharmaceuticals, that are pharmaceuticals for obesity, for this, for that. Like if you keep people unhealthy, you keep them on your medicine.
Correct.
If everybody got healthy, we wouldn't need pharmaceuticals.
Correct. It's logic.
I mean, and if you think, and I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, I just how I look at it. Like if we're promoting this to say, yeah, it's okay to be that way. It's okay to be unhealthy. Like, don't worry. No one should shame you for that. And no one's shaming you for your body. And it's not about shaming. It's like you should be healthy because that's a better way to live.
Well, you'll live longer. Yes. Your mental state will be better, and as a society, you'll be a more productive person.
Yeah.
In whatever your chosen endeavor is.
Yes. If you're not living a healthy lifestyle, then you're more depressed. So you get on depression medicine, anxiety medicine. You get on all these different things.
See. I'm of the belief that if someone is obese, but you gave the person a pathway and an option, even if you could do it magically, okay, I can shed you this immediately. They're going to take that. If you could magically make them lose 50 pounds, 100 pounds the next day, they're not going to stay the way they are. So the positivity is about self-esteem. But beyond self-esteem, there's not much positive for them and for society for them to be at that weight. Outside of self-esteem.
Sure.
Which is important. But again, it leads that feelings versus reality circumstance, which I don't think decades ago had so much weight in society.
No.
And we also weren't that big decades ago.
we've just gotten too attached to feelings in general in this country. And we're telling people that you should, you're not saying feelings don't matter, but we have to get back to logic and reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a better way to view the world. Feelings matter, but logic and reason should be dictating decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, this may feel like it may feel awesome for me to go home right now and eat a fucking pizza and a whole cake. Is that the logical thing to do? No. Because I'm going to feel like shit. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to be mentally unfocused all day. And I've got shit to do.
Why do you think there's a disconnect? Is it because if someone has been traditionally, I'll get blasted for this, but I don't care. If someone has been traditionally overweight
Mm-hmm.
in terms of governmental standards,
Okay.
their entire life,
Mm-hmm.
is it they just don't know what being healthier feels like?
That could be, yeah. I mean, that's part of it.
Is that possible?
Yeah, I think it is. Absolutely. I think because if people are constantly in that state, they don't know any other state.
Okay.
Like, if you think about that, like, if you have always just genetically been a larger person, right? And if never, because if you're genetically a bigger person, I believe it takes a tremendous amount of effort to get to a different like frame,
Mm-hmm.
like a thin person. It's just a lot of work. I remember when I used to compete in bodybuilding, like, I'm a larger frame, but for me to get down to like 6% body fat was like miserable.
Right.
Like it was,
Right.
but I've been there, so I know what it feels like. Now I know kind of my body now, like where I feel the best, and that's kind of where I am right now. Like I feel the most focused, where I can maintain it the easiest.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that have never got to that point, so they don't know any better. This is just how they believe they should feel.
Yeah.
And if they ever make that choice to try and they get to that new state, those people change for the better. I've watched it happen. Like people that have just always been kind of, just bigger people. And then maybe they get, the gastric surgery or something happens in their life.
Yeah.
Where their doctor's like, if you don't make changes, you're not going to live.
Yeah. Then
they change and it's like, holy shit, they become a different person.
Yeah.
Because they understand now what people were talking about. But until you're in that spot, it's hard to understand if you've never been there.
Yeah, I sit back and I wonder too. Like I've struggled with weight, various periods of my life. Didn't stop me from doing anything, but certainly felt a lot better without the weight.
Yeah.
You just feel better. It's a better
absolutely.
way. I mean, it's just logically a better way to live.
Yeah.
And if there's a person out there that thinks it's not a better way to live, okay, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're probably wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
you just move better. You're mentally sharp.
And
like,
who doesn't
I know,
want that?
Like I know, like if I get up to like 240, which is kind of like the biggest I get,
the bigger version of Rocco.
Bigger version of me. It's like I'm not as mentally sharp.
Yeah.
I'm just slower. Like I'm just like I'm like groggy and I'm just like pissy about stuff. But like
sure,
it's totally different frame.
I just worry about the idea of us again, and I worry about the young. Just being okay. I saw statistics, and I don't want to quote them as being actual fact because I don't have the government documents here, but it was like in the late 60s, I think, like the average female, and it's the average female of all species on the planet in the civilized world was like almost 37 pounds lighter than the average is today.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
Yeah.
And the males are probably exactly the same, if not worse. I just don't have the number in my head.
Exactly.
But that's just how the flip did that happen?
Look at the processed foods. Look at the shit we eat now compared to what we used to eat. Like even when we were kids, right? We didn't really have much processed. There were some processed foods.
Ho-hos are pretty damn good.
I mean, those were Nutty Buddies were the best. Like Little Debbie thing. I feel like those were
Little
good.
Debbie's. Yeah.
Twinkies were good too. But
Hostess Susie Q's.
Those were good. But think about it, there wasn't a ton. Like now, like you have to actively seek out unprocessed foods.
You do.
Like when we were younger, it's like processed foods are like maybe like breakfast cereal and snacks, but pretty much our parents cooked like wholesome meals for us.
Right.
Now it's like, for me to cook a wholesome meal, like I've got to make sure just meat and vegetables and rice. Like if I get anything in a package, it's processed. It has full sodium, extra fat, sugar. It's like, it's terrible.
Yeah, like fast food didn't help us either over the last 4, 5, 6 decades.
No.
You know, just the convenience of food.
That's the thing. Like as a kid, I remember fast food was a treat.
Yeah.
Now it's like it's a convenience, so it's like it's easy. I'm guilty of it. Like when the kids want something. Luckily, our kids are active and they're You know, I'm
You don't get a steady diet of that.
No, not at all. But it's like so convenient now. And that's the thing. We've made things easy to be unhealthy.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I remember before I, decided to shed the pounds a couple of years ago, I looked in the mirror and I'm like, how did this happen to me? But then I looked back and I said, well, a sedentary lifestyle and doing all kinds of other things, still trying to be productive.
Yeah.
I believe most people are trying to be productive in their life and do it with their family, and I get it.
Yeah.
But it saddens me that we, don't realize that, hey, this is an important part of our life too. Let's fix this. Instead, in some sectors of society, they're just making that okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be okay. It should be about being healthy and being well.
Yeah.
Body's just whatever. I mean, that's kind of the collateral of it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be about the body. It should be about your health and well-being.
So to wrap this up, I know you're not much on New Year's resolutions at all.
Right.
You're not. Can tell us why you're not.
I just think you should just be constantly pursuing goals. It shouldn't be all of a sudden January 1st is
the gyms go crazy.
Yeah. And look, I don't make resolutions. Like I create goals for the year. Like I'll do my vision board tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And it's I don't look at I look at it as a new year as not resolutions, but okay, what can I do differently this year? What can I implement this year? Not like I'm going to change who I am or I'm going to start working. Okay, like here's a few things I want to do that I didn't do this year. I want to implement this year. Okay. That's kind of like I use it as a reset point. So I've looked at a few things that I plan on like doing this year a little bit more that I didn't do as much last year that I wanted to. That's kind of how I look at New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, I do the same too. Very similar. Why do you think that generally people just peter out by the end of January with their stuff? Because the goals were unrealistic in the beginning?
I think that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest problem, because if you're constantly like just setting goals in your life, it's just kind of easy to continue that. Most people that set these resolutions, it's like, well, okay, this year was rough. I'm gonna now like go to the gym. I'm gonna save money. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And it's like you can't implement. Pick one. I would say if someone's trying to set resolutions, pick one and just focus on that for 2 months. Get through 2 months, then add something else. Like habit stack. You cannot, in my mind, make fundamental changes in your routine or habits 4 or 5 at a time.
Yeah.
You'll die out. That's what happens. That's why gyms are crazy in January. February 1st, it's like half the people are there.
And it's interesting too, because decades ago with the self-development movement, that Tony Robbins had that mantra of like, make massive changes. It was all about immediate, do it tomorrow, do it now, do it tomorrow. Big, massive change. And it all sounds great, but I think when people try to enact that, and I'm not saying that's exactly how he was articulating with that. I think that's how it was ingested by a lot of people.
Well, it was take massive action, right? And I believe in that, but take massive action in one area.
Got it.
Like if you try and if I said I'm gonna like I just spend money like crazy, a fat ass, and I'm lazy as shit. And January 1st, I'm gonna like go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm not gonna spend any money. I'm gonna save $50,000 this year, and I'm gonna get a new job. I'm not gonna do any of that stuff. Pick one. Say what is the thing that bothers me the most about myself or about my life.
Right.
Fix that.
Right.
Take massive action. If it's your health, okay. Say I'm gonna start. If you don't go to the gym, I'm going to go to the gym twice a week. Just start incrementally small. People tend to just come out of the gates like motherfuckers, and they just peter out because you cannot sustain that.
Burned out.
Yeah, you can't. You can't go from a couch potato to a sprinter.
Yeah.
You have to get off the couch and walk. Then you have to jog. Then you have to jog and sprint a little bit. And then you become the sprinter. Like you have to do it incrementally, but too many people just say, I'm going to get off the couch and just run a marathon this year.
And that's also, a suggestion that personal trainers are sometimes worth their worth their weight in gold.
Absolutely right.
You know,
they're the experts. Like, work with someone. They'll tell you. They'll know what to do and how to make sure you stay motivated. Because that's the biggest thing, right? Like, motivation comes from within.
Right.
So you have to find what motivates you. And people use New Year's as this artificial motivation. And if you're using just the changing of the year as the motivation, it'll never work. You've got to find what's really motivating you. Like, okay, if it's your weight, why? Are you unhappy? Do you not like looking at yourself? Do you want to be healthier for your wife and kids? Do you want to have more energy at work? Find that next level why. Right. That's how you make the change. Because if you look at it just the changing of the year, okay, well, just pick a fucking Monday.
Bingo.
You know, like, okay, it doesn't have to be January 1, just make it next week or make it today.
Yep.
You got to find that deeper why. And when people don't typically do that around news, they just say, well, it's New Year's resolution. It's January 1.
Supposed to do this.
Right, time for a new start, but they're not looking at reason why. People tend to make changes in their life when they understand why they need to make the change.
Yeah. You hear that, Washington? Buddy, it's been a great year.
Fuck yeah.
Amazing things and so many cool things happening. Rocco and I also do a radio program on Beaver County Radio, WBVP and WMBA. It's called How We See It, very similar to this series. We're going to be transitioning from that radio program to doing a live program right here on the podcast.
That's going to be fun.
Putting it on YouTube and Facebook, and we're going to build this all up over the next first quarter of the year.
Yep.
Hopefully, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
We're going to advertise that and get it out for y'all, but we'll be able to take maybe some
questions.
It's going to be insane. We're going to have some special guests as we can do here, but we're going to take that idea of how we see it, the radio format, and blend it into a live podcast.
Yeah.
For the first time ever, we're doing live. It's going to be an adventure.
It really will.
That should be a lot of fun.
Yes.
And again, personally, it's an honor to have Cozza Law sponsor this podcast.
It's our pleasure,
it was the natural decision.
Yeah, absolutely. When you asked me, I said that. I mean, it was a no-brainer.
To me it makes sense. Yeah, especially because he's gonna let me do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. You know me, man.
100%.
It's gonna be a good year.
It will remain unvarnished. But to all who have enjoyed the podcast, enjoyed this series, we appreciate the feedback.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep chugging along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into 2023.
Yes.
Have a great year, friends, and we'll see you on the other side.
Take care.
We're out.